everyone, welcome to this Java tutorial. Today we're going to look at the bubble sort algorithm. I am going to start today's tutorial with a quick review of some general concepts related to processing data structures. We're going to look at a double array today, and it's going to take about 3 minutes, and then we'll start bubble sort. So if you want to skip ahead to bubble sort, please do. If you want a quick review of some data structure processing principles, stick around. Okay, what we're going to do today is declare a double array. I'm going to call it race times, and I'm going to initialize it as with a length of 5. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to call a function populate, and I'm going to send it my race times array, and this function is going to get some values into this array. And it's going to send back the reference to the array. So I'm kind of updating the values in the array. Take a moment to think about that line of code. Now, if you know anything about pass by value or pass by reference, you will understand that some aspects of this code are unnecessary. But I do want to make the point that this function is going to take some data, mess around with it, and send us back an updated version of that data. That's really what we're trying to understand with that line of code. And once we've got some data into the race times array, I'm going to display the values. So the display function processes an array of doubles, okay, because that's what race times is. So let's design these two functions. I'm going to design the populate function. Public static, it returns a reference to an array of doubles, and it's called populate. And as a parameter, it processes an array of doubles. It's just a parameter. Doesn't matter what you call it. I'm just going to call it data. Now let's use our for loop strategy to process this data structure, this array of doubles. And we're just going to use math.random. Each element in this array, each element, data I, will be assigned a value. Let's just use math.random. Oh, I tell you what, this is an array of doubles, so we don't need to do the int cast. Let's not do that with this. We'll just stick with doubles. And when the for loop has finished its magic, we're going to return the reference to this array. The reference is just data. We're returning this reference, which is a reference to a double array. So everything matches. Okay? So that we've coded this function. Now let's code this function, the display function. It doesn't return anything. It's called display, and it processes double arrays. Doesn't matter what you call it, it's just a parameter. Okay, I'm going to call it values. And again, let's use our for loop principle to process this double array called values. And we're just going to system.out.println. Whoops. Every element in the values array. Every element, of course, we can use the loop control variable I to access each element in the values array. So, let's see if this program works. Yay! Okay, so it works. Now, as you can see, each value in the array is in random order. We want to sort the array. And we're going to use the bubble sort algorithm. Okay? So let's get into bubble sort. I'm going to set up a little simulation here. Let's imagine we've sorted and we've populated a 5-element array with some values. And when we sort, this is what we're going to do. Starting at index 0, we're going to compare the value at index 0 with its neighbor. Okay, that's at index 1. And if the value at index 0 is greater than its neighbor, we're going to swap them. So is 4.9 greater than 1.8? Yes, it is. So we swap those two values. Then we go to the next index. We're at index 1 now, and we compare with its neighbor, the next one up. Is 4.9 greater than 10.1? No, it's not. We don't swap. Nothing happens. We move on to the next index. We're now at index 2. Is 10.1 greater than 10.7? No, it's not. Nothing happens. We move on to the next index. We're now at index 3. Is 10.7 greater than 1.8? Yes, it is. So we swap those two values. 10.7 goes here, and the 1.8 goes here. Now, we don't need to visit index 4 because there's no neighbor. Okay, there's no index 5. Our program would crash if we tried to do a comparison here. There's nothing. So we stop the algorithm at index 3. Okay, that's an important point. Now, very quickly, let's just have a quick look at a swap algorithm. Okay, again, let's just imagine that we've got an array of values here, and we're going to take, let's say that in our for loop, I is currently 0. Is 8 greater than 5? Yes, it is. We're going to do a swap. So we're going to say items 0, which is 8, will be assigned the value at items 1, right, which is 5. So this 5 is going to go here. Oh no! Look what that line of code has done. We've just overwritten the 8, so we can't do the swap. Oh, it's a disaster. What we need is a helper variable. Okay, I'm going to say, okay, int temp equals this value at items I. Grab the 8 because we don't want to overwrite it. We've grabbed it. We've grabbed a copy of the 8. Now we can do this. Item 0 will be assigned whatever's at items 1. So the 5 goes here. And then items I plus 1, which is this, will be assigned temp, the 8 that we just grabbed. That is the swapping algorithm. We need a helper variable to allow the swap to happen. So take a moment to think about those 3 lines of code. See if you can figure out how to swap 2 values in an array. All right. So let's do the sort. We're going to compare these 2, then we're going to compare these 2, then we're going to compare these 2, and then we're going to compare these 2. Let's have a go. Okay. So as you can see, the 4.9 is greater than 1.8, so they swapped. And we can see that because the 4.9 came here. 4.9 is greater than 10.1? No, it's not. Nothing happened. 10.1 is greater than 10.7? No, it isn't. Nothing happened. 10.7 is greater than 1.8? Yes, it is. So they swapped. Now, as you can see, the array isn't sorted yet. We'll deal with that in a minute. Let's get into our IDE and just code this part of the algorithm. Okay, so I'm going to call a function called bubble sort, and I'm going to send it my race times. It's going to process race times, it's going to sort the values, and it's going to return the new version of race times. So I'm going to update race times basically by bubble sorting it, similar to what we did here with populate. Same principle. Okay, so let's go down here and let's code public static double array bubble sort, and it processes double arrays. That's what bubble sort does. Okay, I'm just going to call this some items. Now then, remember, starting at index 0, we compare neighbors, and we don't go to the end. We stop at the penultimate index. Okay, so let's look at how to do that. Let's use a for loop. Now this will take us to the end of the array, but we want to stop at the penultimate index. If the value at items I is greater than its neighbor, going to swap them. Okay. Now remember, we need a temp. Oh, it's not. We're not. Items I is a double, not an int. So this should be a temporary variable. Has to be the same data type. So double temp will be assigned items I. Then we can do the swap. Items I is assigned items I plus 1. Okay. And then items I plus 1 is assigned temp. Just as we saw in the here. We're looking at this algorithm here, okay? Okay. Now, we need to repeat this process. We haven't sorted the array yet. We need to do it again. Starting at index 0, we need to go through that process again. And it could be, after repeating that process, the array still isn't sorted. We need to do it again. So we're repeating the process a certain number of times to guarantee, eventually, that the array will be sorted. Okay? So what we're going to do is take this process here, all of this code here, and we're going to do it again. So all of this code, just going to take it, I'm going to put it into another for loop. So this is the code that did the swapping, but we need to repeat that process a certain number of times to guarantee that the array will be sorted. Okay. Now I've got a variable here called I. And I've got a variable here called I as well, and Java's not happy about that. So this inner for loop, I'm going to change that to J. This is very common. Let's just quickly change all these values to J. And then let's run this and see if it works. Now remember, this function returns the sorted array. So when the bubble sort algorithm is finished, we're going to return a reference to that array, which is items. Okay. So that's bubble sort. So we're going to bubble sort it, and then let's display it again. Now I am going to do a couple of system.out.prints just to put some gaps between the displays to make it clear. Okay, let's run the code. Is it sorted? Yay! That, folks, is bubble sort.